Canada wasn't really a thing until the 1890s. So with that, you'd be
The barracks of the fort serve as a reminder of the past, preserving the furniture and fixtures that were once used by soldiers. These items offer a glimpse into the daily life of those who lived and worked in the fort. From the simple cots to the sturdy tables and chairs, each piece tells a story of the soldiers who used them. The preservation of these items allows us to better understand the history of the fort and the people who are part of it.
in Canada wasn't really a thing until the 1890s. So with that, you'd be learning on the farm or learning in town. There was a school as well on property here for officers' kids and soldiers' kids. But for the most part, the education would be whatever your family paid for. Cards are reproduction. Not sure why. I imagine playing cards maybe don't hold up very well to 210 years of wear and tear. What we see in here is part of an upper class soldier's life, okay? So they have a servery for alcohol, right? They have couches to lounge on, gambling, drinking, expected parts of life. We also have a bit more technology in this room. That isn't necessary, but it's what they're enjoying, okay? While we do have a fireplace, it's been boarded up. It's mostly collecting cobwebs now. The fancy new technology is the stove here. Certainly
So
not
the
necessary.
stove would have been more efficient.
Not necessarily.
No?
Not necessarily. I don't think it was. Much less messy because it's contained.
Yes.
It's not sending ash. It's not sending smoke out.
No chance of sparks.
No. In fact, the heat that's coming out is ambient heat, whatever's making it through the pipes and the metal, right? Whereas the fire is going to blow a lot more heat out.
I was just thinking that you can build a much larger fire.
Yeah, I think it's just a fun new toy for them, essentially. Yeah, and all the furniture would be stuff that wasn't purchased probably in Canada in 1832. Canada wasn't producing fancy stuff like this, much more like the chairs you're sitting on now. These would have been purchased in England and shipped over as part of your kit, okay? And an officer's life, I said before, didn't guarantee wealth, didn't guarantee comfort. A lot of men had to ask their family for money, essentially, receive an allowance to subsidize the life that they were used to living back home, okay? And imagine shipping all this stuff to places like Sri Lanka, to places like India. It was a long way to go to take a massive couch with you. I have no idea who the gentleman in the painting is. I just know that he scares me.
Yeah.
Why does he have silver hands?
Excellent question. Anybody? I don't know either.
The furniture very similar to that.
We'll fight you for it. That is buffet. It is very nice. It's got an ice chest underneath it. How do you get ice in the 1800s? You have to harvest it during the winter. You have to store it and hope that enough lasts until the summer. Okay? Not so difficult in Canada with our 11-month-long winter, but around the world, much more difficult.
I mean, without the electricity, how did they keep the ice still?
Excellent question.
So much insulation there.
Exactly. Insulation is the answer. So in the same way that a cellar works to keep your preserved things cold, a cellar also works to keep things
Oh
cold.
yeah, it's really cold. Yeah,
And-
it makes sense.
And a cellar, in addition to insulating with sawdust, with straw, big blocks of ice, you'll lose quite a bit of ice, it'll shrink, but it'll last all year.
Yeah.
If you insulate it properly. They probably didn't have ice houses here, but they would have had them in town. Certainly they're getting it directly from Lake Ontario. Yeah. There was also a creek, Garrison Creek, that would run behind the fort. That would have been a source of some ice.
Yeah.
Problem with Garrison Creek, though, is that through most of the 19th century, it was more of a sewer and a urinal than a nice, pristine creek as you imagine today. So that's where alcohol comes in for camaraderie and for food safety. Certainly. We have some fancier pieces. Subjugate your shoulders quite easily.
Yeah.
Now, it's not part of the tour, but downstairs here, on a very scary, not to code staircase, is the original kitchen that would have served this dining room here. Okay, that's where the meals would have been prepared for the officers. Grand, lavish dinners, essentially. So there would be furnaces down there, stoves down there. This kitchen was defunct by 1826 or so, and the kitchen you'll see now is the new modern addition that they added. But that area down there stairs, which we call the dungeon, was used as a wine cellar, a safe, unloved children put down there.
Oh, okay. Got that. Yeah.
I can't resist it, sorry. And you're welcome to check it out at the end of our tour, which ends in this room here. We'll give you the line of the lamp. Yeah, cool.
Oh, this is the quite
Yes.
rustic.
Yeah, so you're welcome to kind of have a look around. I can talk and you can take it in.
So they had no toilets, everything was outside.
No one. Well, you'll notice a lot of chamber pots in the
Yeah,
officer's
so-
room, but no toilets. No, nothing flushing by any
No
means.
water either.
No, no. You'll see a Yoken bucket over here. That's how water's coming into the building. Yeah. So we have two spaces here. We've got the kitchen and the mess sergeant's adjacent to the kitchen, right next to it. It would be his job to order the food, order the supplies, set the menu, essentially. Not the menu, lay out what the meals are going to be. They can't just order whatever they want, but if you'll notice this bill of fare here, this gives you an indication of the fancier side of what a typical meal served for dinner for a function would be. So it's multi-course meals, has to start early in the day. Has to start early in the day, one, because you need to get the fire going, or can have it delivered in, because this is going to barely serve the needs of the officers themselves. Anything you can do in an oven today, you can do in that. It's just going to take a lot longer. It's going to be more finicky. Okay?
This is the basement of the barrack in Fort York. It was dimly lit space with low ceilings and stone walls. It was used primarily for storage of military supplies and equipment, with rows of shelves and crates lining the walls. The air was musty and damp, and the occasional drip of water could be heard echoing through the space. So, despite its utilitarian function, the basement held a certain eerie quality, with rumors of ghostly sighting and unexplained noises adding to its mysterious atmosphere. So while I'm touring, I saw this dark room there. I'm supposed to check that out, but I kind of stepped back. I kind of returned back because I kind of have this goosebump feeling. So yes, I'd rather not to check it anyway. So, yes, just be safe. You know, it's good thing that there's people also in the basement. But if I'm just me alone, it's kind of eerie. Really, like I don't wanna really stay there longer. So I decided to go upstairs now. It seems that I'm alone again, so I better not to be alone there. So yeah, wait for me, guys. Something big happened on April 27, 1813, the Battle of Fort York. American forces launched a surprise attack on Fort York, a key British stronghold during the War of 1812. The attack resulted in violent explosion that destroyed much of the fort and killed or injured many soldiers on both sides. The Americans ultimately captured the fort and gained a strategic advantage in the war. The explosion at Fort remains a significant event in Canadian and American history, representing the brutal realities of war and the sacrifices made by those who fought for their respective nations. So these are the cannonball, guys. Display of cannonballs. Can you imagine how big this balls? So guys, as you can see, I'm in Fort York. This is a historical fort in Toronto. So the story is of this fort is in 1807, as what they said, the Battle of York in 1807. The relationship of United States and Canada turned sour, and there's an incoming war. So in 1812, finally, the war broke out, and so the York was attacked by American. So actually, there's a big story about this York. There's a big explosion happened here during that time, that a lot of Americans injured and died. I don't know if they won. I think somehow American kind of invaded this York, and they stayed here for a little time, and then somehow along the way, the Canada recovered this York. Yeah, so now the city of Toronto preserved this for historical, as a historical significant sites for Canada. So now I'm touring the area. This is a historic site located in Toronto, Canada. It was built in 1793 by the British Army and played a significant role in the War of 1812. So this fort was attacked and captured by American forces in 1813, but was later retaken by the British Army. So Fort York served as the military base and as training grounds for soldiers. So it was also the site of several important events, including the arrival of the first steamship on Lake Ontario, because actually this place is closer to the lake, but not anymore. Reclamation there now. So in 1816, there's a visit came from the Prince Edward, the future King Edward VII in 1860. So today, this fort is a popular tourist destination and has been restored to its 1812 appearance. So there's a lot of visitors here, guys, locals, and they can explore this place. They can see the barracks, officer quarters, and gunpowder magazine, as well as learn about the daily life of soldiers during the War of 1812. So this Fort York is an important reminder of Toronto early history and the role it played in shaping Canada. So when I came here, there's a tourist guide who explained to us the daily lives of the soldiers here, and it's really exciting to know what the life back then. So yeah, it's really educational and informative in knowing the history of Canada. So guys, if you have time, spare time, I know that life here in Toronto is really busy. So if you have time, try to visit this Fort York. It's really significant to the history of Canada. So yeah, see you next time, guys. Thank you for being with me. Let's see what's gonna be our next vlog again. So yes, thank you, guys.